Good morning, everyone. Welcome to church this morning. I am Jade Sylvan. I am the summer minister here at First Parish in Concord, and it is in Cambridge where I am. It is actually quite chilly and a little rainy, but I am very glad to be here with you today on this Independence Day, when, as you know, some Americans declared independence from the British. Today, I'm very happy to introduce Reverend Laura Randall, who is going to be leading service.
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be with you. I'm coming to you from Medford, Massachusetts, and the UU Service Committee.
Thank you. And Anderson Manuel is here to sing some songs with us.
Good morning, everyone, and happy summer. What a crazy we've had, but happy to be here with you.
And on tech is Lily van der Zanden.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here.
First we're doing call to worship, and Laura has that.
I do. This morning's call to worship is by Elizabeth M. Strong. Today we celebrate a dream awakening. Today we worship with renewed hope in our hearts. Today we act on an audacity of hopes and dreams for the future. Today we begin the hard work for justice, equity, and compassion in all human relations. For today is a day like no other, and it is ours to shape with vision and action. Let us worship together and celebrate a dream awakening.
Thank you, Laura. As Unitarian Universalists, we begin our services by lighting a chalice. The flame represents all flames, and so even as we continue to worship separately from one another, we can imagine all of our flames joining together. So if you have a chalice or a candle, you're welcome to light it with me now. Please join me in the chalice lighting. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength. Enliven our spirits and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now.
One of the silver linings of virtual worship is that instead of my reading Adrienne Maree Brown's words to you, we can listen to Adrienne Maree Brown herself tell us about emergent strategy. So this is an excerpt from an interview with Adrienne Maree Brown from a few years ago, where she talks about what emergent strategy is and how it can guide all of us in justice movements.
Emergent strategies are ways of looking at the world, the natural world that we're a part of, and searching for collaborative efforts. Like, where does collaboration happen? Where is right relationship happening between humans and the planet, between different parts of the planet? And what can we as a species learn about how to be in right relationship with each other and with the planet that we're living on? So emergent strategy is really life moves towards life, longing moves towards longing. And if we're not also organized towards what we really want and what we long for, we will always settle into just reacting and trying to stop something bad from happening. One of my favorite examples right now from the sort of the world of nature has been in this flooding that's been happening with the hurricanes, watching how ants have come together to survive. And they basically create a foundation of their own bodies, like a bottom layer of their own bodies, that then other ants climb on top of until they create this floating mound that then is able to make sure that the majority of them survive until they come across something that is a higher ground. Right now, we are drowning in the overwhelm of this political moment and the overwhelm of hard decisions. How do we reach out and hold on to each other, knowing that holding on to each other makes us a more stable body that can actually float and not pushing each other down, not pushing each other under. One of my favorite examples in the human world is actually the work of Black Lives Matter and the movement for Black Lives, and feeling like this was emergent. It's not like someone sat down at a table and was like, I've got it all figured out. I know how we're going to catalyze Black people into their liberation fight and taking direct action right now. That's not what happened. There was just a heartbreak. It really, to me, it grows out of a heartbreak. Like, if you look at the original post that Alicia put, it was like, my heart is broken and our lives matter. And that heartbreak was so catalyzed. And people were like, yeah, how do we organize ourselves around what we long for and we believe in this moment when everything is telling us we don't matter, but we know we do? How do we move that? And that so many people answered that call, and that they have really tried to hold, like, oh, what does decentralization look like? How do we keep adapting to changing conditions? Things that organically emerge from a real desire and a real longing, those are the ones that catalyze the most other people. They're super compelling. Like, when you see someone feeling a real emotion, that's what you want to move towards and be like, I want to be a part of this. It's not just getting me to sign my name on a petition. It's not just getting me to be a number in the street. You actually want me to care about my own life and my children's life. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Friends, it's so good to be virtually with you today, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to explore beloved community and justice making with you and share a bit about the work UUSC, the UU Service Committee, is doing now as we partner with justice makers from around the world. It's also good to be able to get to know your wonderful congregation better. From traveling with your minister, Howard Dana, on a UUSC trip to El Salvador, in January 2020, just before everything shut down, I know a little bit about your warm hearts and your passion for social justice. And of course, it's especially good to be with you on this 4th of July. Independence Day is a complicated holiday for many of us. I know it is for me, to put it lightly. It celebrates the ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as enshrined in the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Yet we know these rights were not intended to extend to everyone, according to the Founding Fathers, but only land-owning men of specific European ancestry. The Declaration of Independence was reaching for something new and bold in the world, but it certainly didn't reach far enough. The vision put forth was, and still is, confined by the cruelties of genocide, colonialism, racism, and sexism. And so the world is still crying out for these values of justice, compassion, and liberation to come to fruition. And we have a chance now to meet the moment before us with bolder imagination and greater humility than we have in the past. The challenges before us right now are great. Institutionalized racism, climate forced displacement, the criminalization of human beings based on their identity or where they were born, a deadly global pandemic. As these combined crises transition from acute to chronic, we must remember that going back to business as usual is not an option. Not if we seek to live up to the values we espouse as Unitarian Universalists and create a world with more justice, a world in which everyone's needs are met, a world where no one is hungry and everyone has shelter, a world where the earth that sustains us is honored and cared for, a world where everyone's full humanity is seen and respected. This is a world that we call beloved community. This is a world built on love, the liberatory love, the kind of love that allows us to stay in the struggle until everyone is welcome, everyone is whole, everyone is free. Perhaps we could call it the declaration of interdependence. This is what we're being called to now in so many ways. Co-creating a beloved community that looks to partners, not saviors, that looks to justice, not the status quo. A community that reaches towards life, not harmful ideology. Dr. Cornel West reminds us that justice is what love looks like in public, and justice is central to the beloved community we are trying to create. Justice, as it is conceived of in much of American society, is often thought of as something separate from us, an impartial system perhaps, or an objective ideal that somehow resides outside of human bonds. In reality, though, relationship is at the core of justice. Justice is co-created between people and between communities. This means that justice is foundational to forming the beloved community. This also means that justice requires more than charity, at least charity as it's come to be practiced by many people. Charity is not really possible in relationship, not mutual, respectful, equitable relationship. Charity implies that I, with my well-earned and well-deserved affluence, wisdom, or whatever it is I happen to have, can fix whatever is broken in you. There's a dangerous idea that lives in this kind of charity, an idea that says that if I have earned the wealth and education to exercise this benevolent power, then there must be some reason you have not. It's not that we are consciously thinking we are better, or not usually, but the impact remains. And so charity like this perpetuates inequality and inequity. For all of us, I believe this is hard to resist. And for those with a particular kind of privilege, this is especially hard because of the deeply ingrained systems of white male superiority and advantage that live in our hearts and in our institutions. Justice shatters entitlement and any Calvinist notion that our social and economic circumstances are the result of our goodness. This is what we mean by inherent worth. We didn't earn it. You can't earn it. It just is. At UUSC, we also like to say inherent power, to acknowledge a person's power to determine their own lives. In her writings, author Rachel Naomi Remen cautions against the kind of service that implies helping in order to fix others. She offers instead a way to understand justice work as being in service of wholeness. I love this phrase, being in service of wholeness. This idea is also found in the words of the Australian Indigenous activist Lilla Watson when she says, "If you've come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you've come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." Activist and author Adrienne Marie Brown speaks to this when discussing emergent strategy, as she did in the video we just watched. Emergent strategy is the practice of looking to instances of right relationship in the natural and human worlds and following their examples. One example being the movement for Black Lives, where the leadership is intentionally diffuse and organic, drawing on the wealth of experience and gifts that are inherent to the community itself. Far from diluting the power of the movement, this model of mutual support and affirmation strengthens it. The movement is creative and resilient, having the agility and flexibility to meet the needs of the moment when those needs are growing and changing daily. And these grassroots leadership models also provide the space for the moral imagination necessary today. Brown points to mutually supportive, morally grounded, and imaginative community-based solutions such as these as the animating force and redemptive power of justice work today. It is the core of beloved community. It is life reaching towards life. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, better known as UUSC, is also part of this journey, one that has shifted our work from charity to justice, from depending on a few key leaders to centering grassroots partnerships and leaderful movements. Founded in 1940 in response to the rise of fascism in Europe, UUSC began as a mission by a Unitarian minister and his wife, Waitstill and Martha Sharp, who traveled to Prague in order to do what they could to get as many Jews and political dissidents being targeted by the Nazis to safety. As the war continued, they were forced to move frequently, but managed to distribute desperately needed food and supplies sent by Unitarians in the United States. And they even organized the first child safety transport trains, which later became the model used in Britain. As the years went on, the Unitarian Service Committee, which later became the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, expanded its global work, sending aid to places around the world facing famine and disaster. Over time, however, our human rights work began to focus more on systemic justice issues. If you look at a timeline of all the work UUSC has engaged in the last 80 years, you see the words provided and supplied frequently used in the 1940s and 50s. In the 1960s, you start to see the word joined. UUSC joined in the desegregation campaign in Georgia, for instance. Then in the 1970s, you start to see the beginnings of what we continue to do today. The most prominent word becomes partnered. Grassroots partnership, following the leadership of those affected by the injustices we are trying to address. And we are still on this journey, always seeking to learn more and do better, knowing that justice work is complex and evolving, and we must be flexible and humble in order to meet the challenges before us, even as we remain rooted in our Unitarian Universalist values. Today, UUSC works with over 70 grassroots organizations all over the world, from Burma to the South Pacific to Central America to right here in the United States. Our work now focuses on climate force displacement, crisis response, and migrant justice. While these initiatives may seem unrelated at first glance, they are at their core all interconnected. These issues are about the right to security within our homes, the right to restore our homes when they're ravaged by natural or human-made disaster, and the right to seek new homes elsewhere. When I was at the Arizona border prior to the start of the pandemic on a UU College of Social Justice trip, I met with some of our UUSC partners in person. Many told us their stories of what they endured to come to the United States for the sake of their families and their own lives. And what stood out to me over and over again was the imagination and commitment they needed, especially in the most dire of circumstances, to envision that another world was possible for them, another life. One man, Miguel, who spent his life in the border towns of Nogales, Arizona and Sonora, Mexico, has witnessed during the last 25 years, these towns go from being virtually indistinguishable from each other to having an enormous barrier of concrete Steel mesh and barbed wire cut through his home like a wound. Miguel now gives tours of the barrier wall to visitors so that people who don't live in border towns can see what it's really like. From the armed guard towers to the families who gather on a few gritty patches of bare earth and on the steep embankments on either side of the barrier to talk. They cannot get close to each other, but at least they can see each other. We also met a woman, Carolina, who walked from Honduras to the Arizona border to ask for asylum. As a trans woman, she fled her home in fear for her life after her father tried to kill her. While her asylum case was pending, she was forced to stay in a US immigration detention center for 3 years. When she was finally granted asylum, this was before the previous administration eliminated gender-based violence as a basis to claim asylum, Carolina met several other trans women who were navigating the immigration system. Together, they formed a community called Casa Mariposa, which offers a safe place to stay and support for LGBTQ+ migrants in Tucson and the nearby detention facilities. The work that Miguel and Carolina are doing, the work that all of UUSC's partners are doing, began as acts of love, with the question, what does love look like here? And what can I do to act in service of the wholeness we long for? We are linked together in this justice work, friends, both because of our shared Unitarian Universalist values, the justice work you engage in locally, and also by your support of UUSC. You are part of the journey from charity to justice to liberation. This is one of the countless ways we become beloved community, even as we seek to create it. This is one of the many beautiful mysteries of beloved community. It is something we become even as we reach for it. The beloved community both is here and it's on its way, and it will never fully be realized. For even as we create the more just and loving world we dream of today, new people with new imaginative horizons will arrive, sharing with us visions of what radical love and radical welcome call us to next. And that too is liberation. That too is how we care for a planet that could sustain all of us. That too is beloved community. We each have a role to play in its creation. Each of us bringing our broken, growing selves in service to wholeness. Recognizing that your liberation is bound up with mine and that no one is free until everyone is free. Beloved community is leaderful, joy-filled, imperfect, challenging, and flexible. It is life reaching towards life. May the love that gives your life meaning be that love of family, love of learning, love of the earth, or love of justice, bolster and sustain you. And may you share that love extravagantly with people near and far as we continue to create the beloved community together. Blessed be, and amen.
You're welcome to type your response to the reflection question into the chat, and then I will read some out loud. Got some great answers in the chat. Mary Ann is curious to explore partnership. Jim wants to learn more about Lilla Watson. Actions over words. Relationship is the core of justice. Subconscious assumptions. I think we're all trying to look at those all the time these days, at least I am. Mutual support. Supporting trans people in the asylum process. I'm also very interested in that. Thank you all very much. We're now going to move into our time of prayer and meditation. And I will start with our parish concerns for the day or for the week. And this week we pray for Linda and for Catherine. You can read in the chat for more about what's going on with them. And now I invite you either to call aloud or to write into the chat those who you are praying for or thinking of this week.
You join me in a moment of prayer, friends. Today, let us lift up those who are grieving. May your heart know moments of solace. Let us hold those who are struggling with illness and injury. May healing find you. May it find all those who love you. We lift up those who are celebrating. May your joy be shared widely. We hold those who are anxious. May you feel buoyed by your community and know that you are not alone. Friends, your presence in this world is a gift. Know that you, yes, you, are holy and whole. And know that you are held by a love that will never let you go. Blessed be, and amen.
Now is the time for you to contribute, if you are willing and able, to the good work of First Parish in Concord. You will see a number appear on your screen that will allow you to text your donation. Just text a whole number, a 20 or a 50. The first time you will need your credit card handy. So if you haven't done this before, just make sure you've got your credit card. But if you have done it before, you can just go ahead and do it. You can also donate through our website or through postal mail or send a check to the building. As you know, in America, we have separation of church and state, so this is the only way we can do stuff. We're nearing the end of our service for this week, but your time with First Parish does not need to end there. In fact, there's lots of stuff going on all summer, even though it tends to be lighter, I know, for us UUs in the summer. One of the nice things about us still being virtual, at least through the summer, is that even if you're on vacation, you can join some of the events going on. We are also starting to have some events outside. And the best way for you to know what's going on is to check your FP Weekly. So that comes into your inbox every week. And it will let you know everything that's going on. You can also, of course, check our website, but I find it's really nice to get that email and just know where to go and just see it all laid out for me, very easy to find. If you haven't been getting FP Weekly, you might want to check your spam folder or your other messages. Sometimes it goes there and you have to just let your email provider know that, hey, I want to see this, this is safe, whatever. And finally, you can join us after, well, join me after the service for coffee hour. There will be a link in the chat and you can just go there and I will see you there and we can chat a little bit. It usually goes until 11:30, but since it looks like we're going to wrap up a little early, it might not go quite that late. So I would be happy to see you at coffee hour. Finally, let's join Anderson in our closing song.
Hello, everyone. Please join me as we sing our final song, Love Will Guide Us. Personally, I like singing this song mostly because of what it says and what it suggests and how it reminds me to pay attention of how I am actually living my life. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. It's like a mantra, some hopeful possibility and promise, an orientation of the heart to the world that I know that I want to hang on to. It's this kind of message that we seek to remind each other of this very church community. Love Will Guide Us is a call to action and song, an encouragement to each of us to let it be love, or yet better said, to choose, for it is to be love that guide us. Please join me as we sing together. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Yes.
Woo! Thank you, Anderson. Friends, may we find abundant opportunities to be in service to wholeness. May we follow the leadership of those so often pushed to the margins, and may we continue to seek out the ways, large and small, of building the beloved community together. Blessed be, and amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend Laura Randall, for a beautiful service today. And as I'm transitioning to summer minister, I have run into a couple of hiccups in my own understanding. It also, if I can just play the new parent card, I have not gotten a ton of sleep over the past 2 weeks, but it has been brought to my attention that there will also be a worship sharing circle today, and you can find that link. I just put it in the chat as well. So my bad, that will be rectified next time. I didn't mention that earlier in the service. I just mentioned coffee hour, but there will be both things as usual. And now please join me in the First Parish benediction. Go out into the world in peace, have courage, hold on to what is good, return to no person evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the suffering, honor all beings. Oh,